Fitness tips come in all shapes and sizes. Some are clearly good, supportive advice, and others are not so much. Then there's some that sound like good advice, but actually lack in any meaningful guidance. Hi, I'm Picturefit, and in this video, we're going to look at 3 helpful fitness tips that aren't really all that helpful, at least not without a bit of extra information. Let's get right to it with the first not so helpful tip, and that is to rest very little between your workout sets. This idea is rooted from claims that muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth is best achieved with short interset rest intervals of about 30 to 60 seconds. The theory is that more metabolic stress accumulates in the muscle with less rest, which leads to greater anabolic signaling, thus greater muscle hypertrophy. Things do seem to check out when thinking about it this way, but like many other bro science concepts that make sense on the surface, the evidence seems to tell a different story. When it comes to resting between sets, research shows that longer rest intervals generally lead to greater strength gains and, yes, even greater muscle gains. And the reason is that by resting longer, your muscles have more time to recover, which allows you to perform more reps in subsequent sets compared to resting very little. In other words, you can do more work with longer rest, and the more work you do, the better gains you achieve. As to how much rest, 3 minutes is about the average in the research, but it can vary based on the exercise and effort of your training. Compound exercises like deadlifts and bench presses likely require more rest between sets. Isolation exercises like bicep curls and cable raises can be fine with less. And the higher the effort or closer you train to failure, the more rest you will need between sets. It takes a bit of testing for yourself to see what works best for you, but the main point is that resting longer is totally fine and actually better than resting too little. Enjoy your rest. The next questionably helpful tip is to just do exercises you like. This is one of those positive advice that sounds well-intentioned but lack a lot of useful substance. Yes, of course, everyone should be doing things that they enjoy because if we don't, we're more likely to quit, which is the last thing we want. But on the other hand, if what you enjoy most does not get you closer to achieving your fitness goals, then that's a problem. Like if I want to build up my upper body, which we all know doesn't really need much more work, what good is it if I do deadlifts all day since deadlifts are my favorite? So it is imperative that our training is fitting for our goals. And sometimes that means doing things that we can tolerate but don't exactly enjoy. On top of that, you wouldn't really know what you enjoy if you don't try out different things in the first place, especially things that might seem initially unappealing but can very well end up as your most favorite exercise. Instead of telling others to just do exercises you like, I think a better tip would be first set a goal, then try out different exercises that would achieve your goal, and then out of those, choose the ones you prefer the most. And the final helpful, not so helpful tip, which might shock some of you, is just count your calories. If you watch my content enough, you know that I'm a huge proponent of calories, which kind of sounds weird when I say it out loud. But much like the previous tip, the problem here is substance, or more so the lack of context. And it's such a huge problem that it resulted in anti-calorie movements and figureheads that seemingly swore an oath to aggressively twitch their collective eyes whenever the word calorie is even mentioned. And it bore witness to the illustrious and infamous argument of,
if it's just about calories, then does that mean 1,000 calories of sugar is the same as 1,000 calories of broccoli?
Ignoring the fact that no rational person is making that argument, the reason rhetoric like this exists is again because of the lack of context that occurs when people discuss calories. We have to remember that calories are simply a measurement of heat, which fits well in the context of body weight because the weight we can effectively change in our bodies comes in the form of available and stored energy, which creates heat when the energy is converted. In other words, weight management is indeed primarily based on calories in versus calories out. But it will be a very bad idea to eat solely based on calories because it is true that the source of your calories do matter, and it matters a lot. It's the reason why I always stress the importance of protein intake because it benefits many different aspects of fitness, and different aspects is the context that's missing. Those aspects are things like muscle growth, which benefits from more protein, satiety or feeling full after a meal, which increases when consuming protein and less calorie-dense foods with high fiber content like vegetables. Palatability or your ability to tolerate and enjoy the food you're eating, which does come down to preference. Micronutrient sufficiency, which getting enough micronutrients is important for general health and is best attained by eating more whole foods, and even the other half of the calorie equation, calories out, where you can burn more calories based on the food you eat, which again is typically protein-rich foods. There are many other aspects that I can't really cover in a single video, but the point is, calories itself is not enough, even if we relegate the context to general fitness. I think a better way to tailor this advice is to say, nutritious whole foods and protein are key, so make sure to get enough of them while fitting them into your calorie goals. Rolls right off the tongue just as good. And that's 3 helpful, not helpful, maybe a bit helpful, but needs context tips. Let me know what you think about my take on these tips, and also share some tips you think aren't as good as we think they are in the comments below. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a helpful thumbs up and share it with your not so helpful but helpful friends. Subscribe for more. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to get your protein, which is super helpful, but might also need a bit of context. Check out my other videos for that.